Hello, everyone. Sue.oneschuk here to continue the lessons of A Course in Miracles from the workbook in the course. So today we are on lesson 84, which is part of review 2, and we'll be reviewing lessons 67 and 68. So these are the ideas for today's review. And first one from lesson 67 is love created me like itself. So you are love and you are innocence, as the Course speaks to. So it says, I am in the likeness of my Creator. I cannot suffer. I cannot experience loss, and I cannot die. I am not a body. So what it's referring here to as well is that you are the Holy Self. You are love. You are not a body, is what the Course is telling us. And who we are is that we are spirit and we are a soul, but we focus a lot of attention in our humanity here on our body. It's not that we don't take care of it, but it's saying we are not a body. So also here, what I want to refer to is the ego and God cannot coexist. So when you're in love, there is not any fear, or the ego isn't present either. So again, what we're being called to, I should say, is forgiveness. And in forgiveness, we let go of that made up ego. And we'll, in that letting go, we will experience the love that we are. And it's saying here that love created me like itself. And it says, I would recognize my reality today. That is so when we recognize that we are love as God, as we were created by God. It says, I will worship no idols of the world, nor raise my own self-concept to replace myself. Now, that own self-concept is the ego. And, it says that you'll not raise that concept of yourself, the small self, the ego, to replace the self with a capital S, the higher self. It's reinforcing here that I am in the likeness of my Creator. And love created me like itself. Divine love created me like itself. So again, remember the ego is not love. So let me just, clarify here, give some clarification further on the ego at this point. You may know some of this, and some of this you may not know. So I just invite you in a moment, as I go through this distinctions between the ego and our higher self, which is love, our soul. And listen from, you haven't heard this before. So I'm going to go through, the ego. The ego is the I identity. The ego is a version of the self created in the mind, which we've created ourselves over our lifetimes with the beliefs that we've taken on, habitual conditioning and in patterns that we're unaware of, that we have taken on from an ego, from our lower self, from our false self. It says, and the ego labels self and others, in such a sense that, we may see ourselves or others as unworthy, as undeserving, see ourselves in a space of lack of confidence. And even, I'm not good enough. Those are the labels. And see how we project those out onto others. And the ego is past and future. The ego is always entertaining the past, and it's future oriented, which means that the ego is not present. It's not in the present moment. The ego is, as well, is fear-based, has been mentioned often to this point in the lessons. And the ego serves self, the lower self. The ego gives to get. The ego gives love to get love. The ego looks outward. The ego has resentment. The ego is drawn to lust. It seeks life as a competition. Other ideas in terms of the ego is it enjoys the prize. And the ego feels lack. And it seeks wisdom. And the ego is mortal. The ego is separation. The ego is quote unquote me. Now the higher self, the soul, the love that we are, the soul is, or the higher self is the authentic self, free from conditioning. It's unconditional. The higher self is labelless. There's no labels. We use that for our distinction. And the soul or the higher self is now oriented. It's focuses on the now moment. And again, it's based in love. It serves others. Our soul, our higher self serves others. Our soul, our higher self, you can also call it our holy self. It looks inward. Remember, the ego looks outward. And the higher self has acceptance. The higher self is drawn to love, because when we recognize that we are created, or the love created me like itself, when we're in that space of love, we'll draw more love. That's the energy that we're putting out there. And the soul sees life as a gift, not as a competition. And the soul enjoys the journey. There's joy in our higher self, in the experience of it. I mean, it doesn't have to be rah, rah, rah joy. Joy in watching a sunset, joy in having a good meal, joy in looking at a beautiful flower, and the list can go on. Also, let me see, I have a list here that I'm going through. So the soul or higher self feels abundant, feels the abundance. There is no lack. We only create the lack in our mind. And it comes from the fact that, source from that we feel we are lack, that we are not enough. And the soul is wisdom. The soul doesn't seek for wisdom. It is wisdom. The soul or the higher self is immortal. And the soul or higher self is unity. It's unity and oneness. And the soul is we. So those are some distinctions, again, between the ego and the higher self. The higher self being love. And again, remember, the ego is our identity. It's the personality, that the person that we've created and made up about ourselves. It's not real. The truth is we are love. So it tells us further here. I hope that's helpful. It tells us further here, you might find these specific forms helpful applying the idea today. So it says here, let me not see an illusion of myself in this. Again, let me not, see my personality, my small self in this, which is the illusion of myself. And it says, as I look on this, let me remember my creator. Remember, my creator is God, and God is love. My creator did not create this as I see it. We created this identity and this personality. That's not what God created. So it goes on to say, and that is, again, lesson 67 review, love created me like itself. Now, the next one, lesson 68 review, is love holds no grievances. So, a grievance is seen, something we're seeing through the ego. And, if our brother or sister or the world, we think if they were different or the world was different, that we would be different. And again, remember that powerful phrase, that, the world is not coming at me, it's coming from me. And the world is not being done to me, it's being done by me. Again, the soul is all inward. It's not focused. It starts inward. And where we are inwardly is what we project out there. So again, it said, love holds no grievances. Grievances are completely alien to love. Grievances attack love and keep its light obscure. So while we're, holding on to any grievance towards others, towards our own self, holding ourselves guilty, in the space of suffering, our unworthiness, or, undeserving, when we're holding on to any of that, we are hiding the light. The light never goes out. We're just in our minds, stuck in the darkness. It said if I hold grievances, I'm attacking love, and therefore attacking myself, my higher self, a self with a capital S, it says here. Again, my higher self thus becomes alien to me. While we're entertaining the ego, all that I explained there earlier, then we are hiding, our real self, our real truth, that we are love, that we are created in the image and likeness of God. It becomes alien because we are focusing more on the ego. It says, I am determined not to attack my higher self today so that I can remember who I am. And it goes on to say these specific forms for applying this idea would be helpful. It says here, there is no justification for denying myself, for denying my holy self. We can just watch where you justify, any of the egoic false images that you generate. You justify your unworthiness. You justify your undeserving. You justify I'm not good enough, and you invalidate. You see that in yourself, and therefore you see it in others, and you invalidate yourself and you invalidate others. It says, I will not use this to attack love. We will not use grievances. This is what, again, we're doing is looking at where these grievances are, so we're not attacking the love. Let this not tempt me to attack myself. Don't allow the grievances to attack yourself. Okay, with all of that, remember this is a journey. And, it's a journey of ongoingly choosing love over fear. And, we have been so patterned, so conditioned. This is where we do this work, where we do the practices of this lesson to the best of our ability every day. Again, we forget and we remember. We forget who we are and we remember. And we need to take a look at all those aspects of the ego that we're dwelling in. That and of course says, dwelling or look at your darkness, but don't dwell in it. Okay. So that's what I want to say for today. And remember, love makes no demands. All right. I hope that is helpful to you. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you, joining in on these videos. There are others that are also in this community, and together, as I've said a few lessons back, as a reminder that as I heal, you heal, and as you heal, others heal, and so does the world. So go forward today and practice this lesson. And I look forward to being with you in the next video for lesson 85. So again, please remember to like, comment, share, and also if you haven't already, subscribe. And thank you for the donations. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So it helps to support building in this community. All right. Have a love-filled day. Bye for now.